Hello, friends, and welcome to Collecting with Stan. And today, this is a Thankful Thursday by this, it's an open tag from the Singing Toad up there in Canada. I enjoy watching his stuff. I've watched a couple Thankful Thursdays already. I watched Randy's from Georgia Adventure. I watched Singing Toads. I watched, I've been watching so many videos this morning trying to get caught up. And what I thought I'd do is I'd kind of do a dual purpose Thankful Thursday. First, I'll let you know what I'm doing. This here is one of my Pakistan-made knives. What I did is it's not super sharp. It's a decent knife. Feels good in hand. They say it's D2 steel. I added a sharpening choil right here. And I'll tell you, whatever steel it is, it was some hard crap to get in there. I could not find my burr, my cutting burr, but I did use a grinding stone on my Dremel. And it took forever to get in there. So I don't know if it's D2 or not, but it's definitely got some hardness to it. But what I wanted to do today is I wanted to kind of do, like I said, dual purpose, sharpen this and do, it's not that it's dull. Well, yeah, it actually is dull. That's perfect. I wanted to sharpen this with my work sharp. I got this here. I bought the advanced kit that has extra stones and stuff. And what I thought I'd do is I'd just sit here and I'd talk about my, what I'm thankful for, and just get sharpening. So let me move the camera down here. You guys can see my blubber, see my fatness. But you might not be able to see everything perfectly. Let's see if I can get a little further. There we go. Without it, I'm afraid of shutting my computer off if I go too far. But there you go. Now you can see how fat I am. But first off, what you do here is when you set the blade up, I always like to check which way it's going to turn. This is going to turn this way, counterclockwise. It's got the white dot up. So I want to put my knife in this way. So when it turns, does that make sense? Okay, well, it does for me. I don't know. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I always have problems putting the knives in here. I know it's simple, but I'm one of those people that I believe if you can't screw up a wet dream, then don't have them. Joking. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, Stan's weird, weirder than we thought he was." But there it is. It's set up now. Now I got to pick my. Oh wait, I might put a little black Sharpie on the angle here, just to see how close I am. I want to put this at roughly a 20 degree. So I'm going to start off. I'm not going to start off with anything super. I'll probably start with the 400. This one here, I'm going to try and you can see 400 right there. It's 220 and 400. All you do is this magnet will suck it up. And right here's my angle guide. And now I'm going to boy, I suck at this. I got to have it in front of me. I'm sorry. But it looks like my angle's pretty close to what I needed. It's definitely not a 20 degree angle. I'm going to do a little bit of like this. Okay, it's definitely not a 20 degree angle. I'm going to lay it back because that's the angle I want. So I'm going to go to 220. And if I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing it wrong, but it's how I do it. You got to be careful on the tip because one of the common problems when you use these constant angle stones is that you will have a tendency to blunt your tip. But what I want to talk about is just, being thankful and being grateful. I don't know how many of you all know. I know like my comic book people mostly know. I'm a disabled veteran. I was very, very blessed that after my injury when I was in boot camp when I was 18 years old, that I had roughly 25 years with very limited pain. What I did is I hurt my neck really badly. At the time, I don't think anybody knew how bad it was because, I had a couple days of light duty. But when you're in boot camp, you don't want to be on light duty because if you're on light duty, guess what happens? You get washed back. And I wasn't going to get washed back because this happened literally 2 weeks before getting out of boot camp. And they're not washing me back when I'm that close. So I lied and said, oh, it doesn't hurt that bad, even though I woke up the next day with my neck, my head stuck to the side. I kind of lied because I didn't want to get washed back. It sucks. You get put in a medical platoon, and then eventually, when they think you're better, they let you get back in. You get to another platoon that's close to what you were. Doesn't mean that you are going to actually be just 2 weeks before graduation. Just means you might be close. You might get picked up like a platoon coming back from the rifle range, just heading into third phase. And if that happens, I'd have another, God, what is it, 4 weeks? Yeah, 4 weeks. And I'm like, no way in Hades. This is doing okay. Hades, was I doing it? So I kind of, I didn't tell 100% the truth, I guess, is what I'm saying, because I didn't want to get left back. I didn't want to do a different platoon. I wanted to be with the platoon I was in because, those are the guys that I started my, I'll say, adventure with, and that's who I wanted to graduate with. And so, I didn't tell 100% truth, which is sad because as a Marine, integrity is one of the big things for a Marine, but I didn't want to get washed back. I wanted to be tough. I wanted to make it through. Well, long story short, I went roughly 25 years without too much problems. Then all of a sudden, one day, I wake up, my neck's just really sore. Went to work, didn't think much of it. A couple days later, I wake up and I got a migraine. And I've never had a migraine before. I had to ask my wife what the hell was going on because I didn't know. I'm like, oh my God, I see like lights. I see like this. I can't have the TV on. I can't have nothing on because it just, right then my life is sucking because, it's just, yeah, it was just bad, it really sucked. So then long story short there, I ended up having a migraine for, didn't mean to do that, for 74 days. Went to a neurologist and other things. And, they gave me some pills to help, and it did some. But after I went to the neurosurgeon and everything, got finally into a pain clinic. Now we're shooting at about 6 months that I haven't been to work because I couldn't, I was having migraines. I was seeing lights. Things were moving that weren't moving. And what I mean by that, like I'd be in the doctor's office and I look at the carpet and how most doctor's offices, at least up here in northern Michigan, the carpet's kind of like spotty and stuff. It looks spotty. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at it and everything's moving. And I was like, what the hell? Well, they found out that is where I hurt my neck. My pain clinic doctor and neurosurgeon both agree that it's probably broken and didn't know. And I broke C2, C3. Well, finally got me back, got a pain clinic treatment, got rid of the migraines. Now I've been missing work for 7 months. Finally get back to work. I'm happy as a possum eating crap. Get back to work. And I was at work for about 6 months or so. And then guess what happened? The same thing again. I couldn't, except now I'm trying to put a tire back on as a mechanic for AT&T. I was trying to put a tire back on one of our trucks. I couldn't pick it up. My left arm was like absolutely worthless, tons of pain. And I'm like, what in the hell is wrong with me? So, I'm getting angry because I'm in a spot where, there's nobody around. I have to get this truck put back together and I can't do it. Well, finally somebody wandered through because I was in a remote area and I asked them to help me and they did. They got the tire back on for me, which I appreciated. And I zapped it down, did the other stuff, got it taken care of. The next day I wake up and I literally, my left arm, I can't raise past here. So I'm like, what the hell? So I go and talk to my wife and she's like, what's going on? I tell her what's going on. And she's like, wow, that's wild, And so I ended up trying to get a gallon of milk out of the fridge, put a little milk in my coffee. Because yes, I like coffee with cream and sugar. I know, sacrilege, but it's how I do it. And so I go in there and I'm like, I can't pick up a gallon of milk. This is not a joke. I grab a gallon of milk, which is 8 pounds. And like this, I could do it. The minute I put my arm out, I just dropped it. I was so glad it didn't burst open. And my wife's like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. So ended up calling in that day because I'm like, how the hell do you go as a mechanic, especially when you can't lift nothing, you're in massive amounts of pain. So again, go through all the rigmarole. This time missed about 5 months. And again, they found it's something with the pinched nerve in my neck. So I go to the pain clinic. They do their procedure. They get me all super dupered up. And now I'm feeling pretty good. So now I go back to work. And now I got about 6, 7, 8 months. I work really long time. And again, I can't, my arm is just not working. And I'm like, what the frick? And, so I'm like, okay, this is stupid. And also, I couldn't turn my head. My neck was just killing me. So I called the doctors and get into the pain clinic, and they try another thing. This time it actually worked pretty good. I got roughly 6 months to 7 months of goodness. Now, mind you, that while this is all going on, it's like every doctor's office. You got to call and try to get in. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm fighting, trying to get in because I want to go back to work. I don't want to not be working. So I go back in, see the doctors, and they start talking about, this is long term. This is nothing, we can do. You need to talk to the neurosurgeon again, see if you can do something. So I go to the neurosurgeon, and the neurosurgeon's like, no, can't really do nothing. You got a 50-50 chance. I'm like, 50-50? I'm a gambling man. I'll take it. He goes, no, let me finish. You have a 50% chance of being better and a 50% chance of being worse. And I'm like, well, there's no upside at all on this then. He goes, that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. There's no upside to surgery. At least not yet. He goes, we wait 5, 6, 7 years, something might happen. So I'll shorten this up. Long story short, during this time frame, I decide, well, I'm going to go to the VA and see if they'll recognize my neck. I claimed it earlier, because I knew I'd had some problems, and I was having minor problems with it. Nothing to the level of like I'm having now or then. So I go to the VA and I check with them, and they, of course, want to fight it some, but I end up finally getting a good rating for it. And now they'll take care of the medical for it, So I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because now worst case I got medical because those procedures, even though I had private insurance, those procedures, when they go in and burn the nerve in your neck, are not cheap. You got a whole team in there. You got a x-ray tech, you got your doctor, you got 4 nurses, you got a whole IV because it's cervical, and you go through this whole thing, getting an edge on her now. You go through this whole thing hoping that maybe something will come out of it, and you'll be better. But to no avail, I ended up not. So my wife and I sat down and we talked. We looked at her 401k, looked at my pension, looked at everything. And we decided the best option for me was to retire early. And the reason we decided that was the best option is because, I wasn't getting a lot of slack or anything from AT&T. Of course, they wanted me back. So I was always talking to the disability center and stuff, and I wanted to go back. But finally, after my wife and I talked about it, we kind of realized how things were going. We decided I'd retire December 31st, 2022. Now, mind you, not exactly what I wanted to do, but kind of what I had to do because of the way things were. One, it wasn't fair to my coworkers. I have nobody up here close to me. These were guys coming up, driving 2 hours, 3 hours to get to my locations to do my work, Oh, that's still really dull right there. So we retired. So I called my boss, find out what I had to do. And at this time I was on disability again because couldn't use my left arm again. And talked to him. He's like, wow, I've never had anybody that's going to retire while they're on disability, And I know a lot of people would say, well, you should have stayed out for a year. Then you would have gotten, disability medical from. Well, that's not the way up here in northern Michigan with our local union and stuff, how it works. We lost that a long time ago. CWA District 4 gave that away a long time ago. So I couldn't get, what would happen is after a year, they would put me out. I'd have to get SSDI and, deal with that crap. So my wife and I decided, we had the medical help, we had this, we could do this. Well, during this time frame, I'm waiting to get retired. I finally retired. Now, mind you, the last 5 years I worked, I was probably only at work 2.5 years, which is horrible. Up until then, I'd maybe missed, had a hernia surgery or something like that, or when I blew out my knee at work. Otherwise I just used my vacation and my personal time, and I was there, because that's what you're supposed to do when you're working for a company. Is you're supposed to be there. This is taking a long time. This is really hard stuff. You're supposed to be there. So, I got everything squared away. Had to come back to work for 1 week before I went out, and that was basically just on paper. I didn't go to work because I couldn't, and I got that taken care of, and I retired. Well, during this time, I go to the VA, and they give me a psychological, an intake, with a social worker, healthcare, see how you're doing. Well, I end up getting put on a suicide watch because I answered their stupid questionnaire honestly, and I'm glad I did because I didn't know how bad I was. And the VA diagnosed me with PTSD and clinical depression due to chronic pain because, like I said, I'm in pain every single day of the year. Well, what's so funny is I didn't even know I had PTSD. I just thought everybody, was like that. Well, I found out that I was wrong, and I'm very glad that the VA diagnosed me because they got me some psychiatric help, some meds, and now, life isn't the greatest. Income's a little tighter. Still got enough to do things that we want to do, but it's weird. It's weird being at home, especially when I retired so young. I thought the earliest I'd retire was 59, and that's if everything went right. So just very weird, but at the same time, very grateful that I was able to, that I did this stuff. And I'm grateful to the VA because, of all the horror stories I've heard, and hell, some I've seen when I first got in the Marine Corps, went to the VA for the stuff like my broken arm and stuff. They were horrible. I mean, they were absolutely flipping horrible. That was 220. I'm going to switch to the 320 now. And so, I really wasn't thinking that was going to really do anything for me because, yeah, they were horrible back in the day. But now they're doing better. So, if you're a veteran and you have some problems, especially if you can prove them, and if there's not direct proof from your medical record, get what's called a nexus letter from a doctor, a private doctor. They might ask you some uneasy questions. You got to let them look at your military medical record. And like I said, they may ask you some uneasy questions, but you got to consider this is a doctor that's saying, hey, I believe, Johnny or Timmy or Tammy or whoever, that this injury that they're saying is related to the military is actually related. Like my doctor, I had to actually have my pain clinic doctor do it. He came in and asked me before he did it, he's like, okay, how did this happen again? And I told him how it happened. He's like, okay, good. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, the injury that you have can only happen from one of two ways. And I was like, oh, and he goes, and you just named one of the most common, the way it happens most often. So that made me, in one aspect, feel good, another aspect feel bad, because it's like, well, shoot, now I know for certain it was, the military, the Marine Corps, but and again, I'm thankful for what I have. I'm thankful for the friendships I've developed here on YouTube, not only in the knife community, but in the comic book community. I'm thankful for my friends, both sides, putting up with my stupidity, And what I mean by that is, most channels don't do multiple things, if you know what I'm saying here when I say multiple things. And what I mean by that is, most channels don't do knives, this, that, the other. Might need to do more on that side, so I appreciate you guys, being my subscribers, my friends. And even if it's something you're not interested in, just clicking, not watching it. I mean, I'd appreciate if you'd give me a view, but I understand, I understand. I try to watch everybody, even stuff I don't necessarily like. If I subscribe to you, I try to watch it. Might not always comment, but I try to at least see what you're up to, But teach their own. And I'm not liking this. This dang thing is moving on me. Don't like that. Yeah, I got to look at this for a minute. See if it's getting any sharper. It's getting there. Still pretty dull. But yeah, I know I've been blabbing for a long time, and I apologize about that. I might just finish this up off camera, because otherwise I'm going to be here a long time, and I don't think you all want to watch some fat guy jiggle while he's sharpening knives. Yeah, I'm hitting 20-some minutes. I'm going to get out of here. I'll do a little short of how sharp this thing got. But again, I just wanted to thank you all so much for the friendships. And I'm just grateful for everything I have. Please like, subscribe, leave comments, live long, prosper, and remember, collect your own way.